What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Let's Talk Movies. I'm Brad.
I'm Miguel, guys.
What was that?
I don't know.
And tonight we are talking movies of the 1970s. We're going to check out the whole new Hollywood era and talk about kind of how film changed a little bit. We're going to dabble into how film music changed and film scoring, and then we'll just kind of talk about some different films, stuff that we thought defined the decade, films that we find interesting and that we've come to love. So it's going to be a real good one. It's a real good one in both of our pants. So you just got your vaccine today. You just got your vaccine.
What?
How you feeling? Let's change the subject right now. Let's change the subject.
Yes, guys. I just got my vaccination, and believe it or not, I still don't feel like shit. They literally said like within 8 hours it'll hit you like a truck, and I was like,
It will be
solid. They said, okay, you're gonna prepare for this. All right, you're gonna get fever, you're gonna get the chills, and you're probably gonna get diarrhea, like 1, 2, and 3. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, that's fine. So like pretty much a hangover from a Mexican restaurant. And she literally died laughing at that. And I guess she
That's
thought
awesome.
it was like racist at the time. But when she saw my name, she was like, okay, that's fair. That's fair for you to say. So I was very glad.
Funny.
As soon as she put it in my arm and she was like, all right, well, you're done. And I was like, all right, I'm going to take my mask off. She was like, no, not yet. I was like, oh, okay, whatever.
Did you say that?
I made a little joke about it. I was like, can I take my mask off? And she was like, nah, not yet. And I was like, all right, whatever.
I think it's 10 days after your second one, you're considered fully vaccinated, which, I mean, you still wear the mask, but
yeah, it's fine. Whatever.
Better than nothing.
Yeah, true.
So, it was weird. After my first one, my arm was sore, but I didn't like physically feel bad. But my second one, I was fine the night of. Like my arm didn't even really hurt. And I woke up the next morning and rolled over, and I was like, oh, and my arm was hurting. And we went to the grocery store that morning, and I was so, I mean, it was, I imagine that's what like LSD is like. I've never done LSD, but I mean, I was so lethargic and like out of it.
Yeah.
Like we were at the store and Julia was like, go sit in the car. Like you're in my way. I mean, I was just I would just stand there and like fixate on something. And I was just like staring off into space. It was really weird. I was just so lethargic and like out of it. But what'd you watch this week?
What did I watch this week?
It's been my spring break, so I watched a whole bunch of different, just while I'm working or while I'm editing or doing stuff in the yard.
Fuck, I forgot. No, wait, today's Thursday. Never mind. I thought today was Friday. I was like, damn, I could see Falcon and Winter Soldier. What did I see? Oh, I rewatched King of the Monsters with my dad. I just found out he didn't watch it, and I was like, what? So we had to watch it.
Cool. I kind of want to rewatch King of the Monsters.
I like that better than Kong. I'll be straight up with you.
Than Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah. Obviously, it's very much story driven.
I think, and we talked about this. If you go check out our last episode 16, I loved Godzilla versus Kong, and I think for hype reasons and for what it meant, I liked it better. But I have to say, King of the Monsters was a better put together storyline and a better put together film.
Yeah,
it exactly. Was. But yeah. I actually saw Julia Mouse Hunt this week. Have you ever seen Mouse Hunt?
I remember it. I haven't seen it in a long time.
She didn't know what it was.
Really?
Yeah, she had never seen it before, funny. So I showed her. I watched I watched that film on repeat when I was a kid. I loved it. It was hilarious. I'm
trying to remember a couple of
scenes. What are their names? What's his name? I'm drawing a blank. From the Birdcage.
From the Birdcage?
What's his name? The hell is his name? I gotta look it up now.
I mean, I don't know if you're talking about
Nathan Lane and Lee Evans. They're the two brothers. Nathan, I don't know why I couldn't think of Nathan Lane's name. I love him. He's hilarious, dude. Nathan Lane is awesome. But I also just again, while I've been editing and just trying to be mindless on spring break, because honestly, that's what I've been trying to do. I watched Friday the 13th, A New Blood. I watched Manhattan today. I watched Jason Takes Manhattan, which I know people think is and it is. It's the stupidest storyline that you could ever come up with. Because how the hell does he get these like teenagers on this cruise or whatever get from Crystal Lake to suddenly they're in the ocean?
Yeah.
How does that happen? That
I don't
doesn't make
think you
any
can
sense.
get to an ocean from the lake.
But it's just so fun. Like, it's so stupid. You just kind of have to like suspend disbelief and just enjoy it. It's got such an 80s vibe. But I watched Dream Warriors too, Nightmare Part 3.
Oh, that's Freddy Krueger, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a weird name.
I jumped all over the place, but I was just having a good old time because that's what I like to do.
Very good.
And then I made my new background. I got my Halloween wall over here. Michael's face is hidden by my mic. But
yeah, I would be very scared if I took a nap in that room. I
actually took a nap in
literally
here
can't.
today. I fell asleep watching. I fell asleep like right at the end of Manhattan, and then I was like, I'm gonna go sit on the couch because
That's
I got that little
hilarious.
red couch in here. But so let's hop into this. The 1970s. This was what they called the New Hollywood era, or it was really part of the New Hollywood era. I believe that actually started in the 60s, and then it kind of transitioned into the 70s. But you know, films in the 1970s, they got a little bit grittier and they got a little bit deeper in meaning. The topics and the subject matter was heavier. And it was funny because right before we started filming, before we came in here, I was actually talking to Julia about this because one of her favorite movies ever is Psycho. She loves the original Psycho from 1960. And you know, I was talking about like, you know, subject matter and how it's changed and how you know, a lot of films from the 70s you would not have seen in the 40s or 50s or even 60s.
No, it was
You know,
too well conservative, so to speak. You know what I mean?
yeah, they were very conservative back then. Even things that they considered taboo were like, you know, like that's nothing compared to what we see now. But you know, I don't think it's that subject matter was any more serious. I think it was always serious, but it was in the way that it was presented. Like in Psycho at the beginning, Janet Leigh, who's playing Marion Crane, she's shown in a room with a man in her bra and a skirt. And I mean, that's, you know, like that was a big deal. You know, her mom was telling her like that was a really big deal back then to show a woman in the room with a man, implying that they just had sex. And to show her in her bra, like that was a really big deal. Even look at I Dream of Jeannie or I Love Lucy. They weren't allowed to show their belly button.
Yeah.
Like that was like, and it's funny because it sounds so stupid now because I mean, like,
Yeah, now that I think about it,
you get into them deep dark holes on Netflix and stuff. There's some shit on.
Yeah, exactly.
It gets real deep and dark, but it's just kind of funny to think like little things like that, how the 70s started to really kind of push forward in terms of what you could show and get away with.
Mm-hmm. The 70s was definitely a time where they were like, hey, we got the opening. Let's just push the boundaries as much as we can.
Yeah,
And I
pushing
think
boundaries.
a lot of movies in the 70s showed that in most of their work.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm all here. I'm all for it. I mean, I have a good list of movies from the 70s that I like and I would rewatch. And I mean, most of them they still hold weight to this day.
Right.
Because they were, I guess you could say, pioneers of what all these other movies are doing.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, and I mean, you know, look at like, I mean, so many epics, like epic big films, like The Godfather came out in the 1970s. Like films that, you know, you have the main plot, but there's also like so many subplots involved, and it's just so big. Like, I think that was kind of what they were going for, was they were pushing the boundaries on what a film could be and what it meant. You know, there were always long films, but I think when you can find ways to pack so much inside of one film, you know what I mean? That was a big deal. And I mean, look at even the atmosphere. I mean, you had everything from The Godfather to The Exorcist to
I
Star
was
Wars to
literally
Superman. I mean, just like so many different things.
yep, yep.
And so many different, just like you said, pushing the boundaries of like what you could do.
Hmm.
A lot of films really relied on intense drama and like, an uncomfortable atmosphere, you know,
Yeah.
just
Like
they were a lot more gratuitous
hmm
in what they
take
showed.
yeah, take The Exorcist for an example. Like yeah, there was no movies that like tackled that type of subject at all.
No.
And
Well, and
like
tackled it that intensely. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
for sure. Because I mean, I'm sure everyone's heard the stories of like when The Exorcist first came out and like how it like traumatized so many people.
Yeah.
Like
They had
I
barf bags at the theaters.
yeah, they were ready to go. And they've had people that are like still, I guess, somewhat traumatized to this day that
Yeah.
watched that movie at the beginning. And like, yeah, I mean, that was something that nobody in the movie industries ever expected. Like that
Hmm.
was a huge leap.
Definitely.
And look at that. It's one of the most I guess one of the most popular horror movies
It is.
of I mean,
A
of
lot of
that
people say it
decade.
is the greatest horror movie of all time, more so than Psycho or Halloween. And I mean, that's saying something because there are some serious Psycho and Halloween fans out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
one
I
of
know
them.
what you mean.
But I mean, and that the other thing with The Exorcist is it wasn't just gratuitous violence and like disgusting macabre material. It
Hmm.
was with a kid. It was a
Yeah, like you
child. I mean,
don't
like the things that were happening to a child, which I think that was like another level of like whoa,
yeah,
I'm
because you don't
and
expect that to happen to a kid. And
right.
like again, like back to like to conservative cinema, like when you see a kid, you think of innocence and
Hmm.
all that jazz. But the second you saw that and you saw what the kid was going through and like
Yeah.
all the stuff she would say, like that's not something you would expect a kid to say.
No, not at
And
all. Not at all.
it just threw a lot of people for a loop. And I think
Hmm.
that's why it worked so well because it showed a new angle to how you can go about in storytelling. It's no
Yeah.
longer
Right.
you again pushing the boundaries for
Hmm.
what a viewer can see.
And it's kind of funny because also it didn't begin in the 70s, but the MPAA, Motion Picture Association of America, their rating system began in 1968. So the 70s were really the first full decade that used the rated G, rated PG 13, rated R, not rated. They were the first ones that really used that. And I mean, I'm gonna say it because it needs to be said. There were titties. They were finally, and I'm not saying that it never happened, but I mean, look at Psycho, look at I Love Lucy, and I know those are different TV shows. Those were TV shows and
Oh,
stuff like
okay.
that. But I mean,
I thought
no,
you were saying I Love Lucy had that. I was like,
no,
wait,
no,
wait,
no, no.
no.
But I'm
Okay.
saying, I mean, we went from it was so taboo to even show them in a bra,
Mm-hmm.
wearing pants, just shirtless.
Mm-hmm.
There were
To
titties
now,
now.
yeah,
I mean, it's just there were. I mean, it's
yeah.
it happened. Um, and then the other thing that I find really interesting about the 70s is directors started to take real authoritative control
Mm-hmm.
over films. I mean, look at what Spielberg did with Jaws, or look at what George Lucas did with Star Wars. I mean, those were their babies. You know what I mean? They built that story and that film from the ground up. It wasn't a studio telling them what to do when they were just kind of the middleman. They were really the front runner to campaign for that story and to get it made. Look at George Romero, starting with I know George Romero had already done Night of the Living Dead, which is another one like The Exorcist. That was a big deal, you know. Of course, Dawn of the Dead came out in the 70s, but just a lot of really really cool stuff, man.
I think it's because I think whenever during that time, like directors were because like like during the 70s was like the start of like almost most of these reboots that's been going on now.
Yeah,
Like these
yeah, that's true.
directors, the directors during the 70s, like they all like took that risk, like they took that jump. They realized the
Hmm.
opportunity to try something different. And the fact that almost every single one of them stuck into the hearts of like most of us as cinema lovers, like I think that's absolutely brilliant. And yeah, I agree. Like all the directors you listed, like all of them took major risk. George Lucas honestly didn't really think much of of Star Wars. He still kind of thought of it
Really?
as a kid's show. He thought it was like a kid's thing. It was like a kid's movie.
I did not know that.
There really wasn't much. And I think
Come on.
it's
Trying to open another beer.
oh, okay, I
It's
got
giving me troubles. But
take my God, I'm blanking on the first name of Star Wars.
A New Hope.
New Hope. Yeah, Jesus.
Wow.
When
I just let it be known, I just got that right and you didn't. I like Star Wars for all of you that don't know, but I'm not I don't look at The Last Jedi and want to violently vomit like most people do. You know, I don't really care.
yeah, I think it's just a vaccine kicking in. I'm forgetting my thoughts. But nevertheless, when George Lucas came out with The New Hope, he wasn't really expecting much from that movie. Like it was just like a small little project for him, and it was like, as you can see, you can still consider it like a kid's movie because just the way it is. And
a kids movie?
Yeah.
I guess I need to go back and watch it. I haven't. I'm gonna admit something here, and I know we're probably gonna lose all of our subscribers and all of our listeners. I've only seen it once or twice. The original.
I know plenty of people that have only.
I've probably seen Rogue One and the newer stuff 10 times more than I've seen the original trilogy, and I'm a little bit ashamed. I actually own it. It's on my shelf. I have the original trilogy,
and yet he didn't watch it through spring break.
I didn't watch it on spring break. That'll be a commentary. We'll have to do a Star Wars commentary. But we can leave out the prequels. I'm okay with that. I was like, because my dad had them all on VHS. He was a big Star Wars guy. Mm-hmm. And my mom and I actually tried to watch it when I was a kid. And we got through the first 15 minutes. And I was like, shut this shit off. I was like, this is terrible. But I didn't like it when I was a kid. But then going back and watching it as a teenager, I was like, okay. Our buddy Chris made me watch it.
Are you talking about the prequels still?
No.
Oh, okay. You're talking about the original trilogy.
Yes, I believe. I don't remember which one I tried to watch first, but I didn't like it when I was a kid. It didn't. I think it kind of went over my head partially. I was too young. I mean, I'm talking. I was little. I wasn't 12. I mean, I was little, and I was like, I just don't have an interest in it. I just don't really care. I'm gonna go watch Spider-Man. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, I just it didn't. I don't know.
I mean, it didn't hit you. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
It didn't do it for me.
It hits people different ways. Some people like it, some people don't like it, and that's fine.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, you know what did it? I remember this. This just hit me. You know what did it? And I don't know. We may have talked about this before when we did our Star Wars update a couple of months ago. Rogue One, I honestly think is my favorite Star Wars movie. I really do. And I don't know, that might be blasphemy to a lot of Star Wars people, but I think I went and saw Rogue One with our buddy Jacob in the movie theater. And I had never seen any of them before. That was my introduction to Star Wars. And I walked out and I was like, I enjoyed that. I'm going to go back. And that was when I sat down and I actually watched the original trilogy. And then I went and saw The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi in the theater. And I think I made it through one of the prequels and halfway through the second one. And I was like, nah.
I think the third one
bored me.
Revenge of the Sith is probably one of my favorites of the prequel.
Yeah. I think that's the one I've never seen all the way through.
You'll probably like that one, honestly.
Yeah. Well, we need to make that a commentary.
Yeah, we can. But going back to what I was saying about George Lucas in the 70s and all those directors is that they started something that nobody expected. Those were movies that nobody was expecting to see during that time. But I think during that decade, it made sense because it was during a time of more it was more how can I say this? More open to different ideas. You know what I mean?
Yes.
From the 60s to 70s, it was
Definitely.
a transformation of what is considered the norm. They were definitely pushing the boundaries again. I'm gonna say boundaries a lot in this episode. I'm sorry, because they really did.
It makes sense.
And, yeah. So when I think about them, I think that those people right there, they truly are the pioneers of what cinema is now. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it was I think it was the beginning of, like you just said, the transition into what the 70s and 80s and 90s were.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of think, honestly, even the 2000s, I think that's another benchmark of like what we're at from where we're at now.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you can group together the 70s and 80s and 90s, and then you can group together the 2000s and up until where we are right now. I think that makes sense. You know, and
I
at
agree.
least in my brain. I mean, that's subjective, but in my brain, that makes sense. The other thing I wanted to touch on real quick was film music. I actually just taught this in my class, one of my classes. Synthesizers began to really make their way into film music, electronic music. You didn't need a full orchestra anymore. You could have one person do the whole damn thing. One person could do the entire movie. They could score the whole thing and do it with synthesizers. And perfect example is John Williams versus John Carpenter. John Williams, think Jaws, think Star Wars. It's very orchestral. It's very classic sounding.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have John Carpenter, think the score to Halloween, think the score to Assault on Precinct 13, think the score to The Fog, and anything like that. It's more synthesized, it's more electronic. And that's kind of a cool little thing that started to happen too, but because really before that wasn't an option. That wasn't
you either had to get an orchestra, or I mean your movie was just going to be like a silent film.
Very simple, very, very, very bare bones simple. So I think, I always pay attention to the music when I watch a movie. That like that, as a musician, that's jumps out at me, so I thought that was kind of interesting. Let's hop into some movies here. The highest grossing movie of the decade, you know what it was?
What was it?
It was Star Wars.
Star
Wars was the highest grossing movie of the entire decade. I had it. I don't know where it is now.
But I do agree with that, and I'm not surprised at all, because I mean, it just killed. Like I mean, we had a. I'm sure you can guys check out our
here it is.
Star Wars episode, but
it made in 1977 when Star Wars came out. It made $221,280,994 at the world. That's global. That's worldwide box office. The second highest grossing was Superman, and that only made $134 million. So Star Wars killed. Killed. Jaws was third, Grease was fourth, Smokey and the Bandit was fifth. I'm not going to keep going on past that, but interesting.
Yeah,
Star Wars killed that much,
Again, because it was just so different from anything else that's happened. And I mean, look at it. I mean, the other options you had was a superhero movie, just a shark movie, and the other one was just a musical, which, by the way, Grease was fantastic.
Oh my God. Wow. You just said just a superhero movie, just a shark movie, and just a musical.
I mean, think about it. I mean, how many there's been plenty attempts of superhero movies during the time.
That is three of the most popular movies ever made, and you're like, just a shark movie. It's Jaws.
It's the most popular of that category. Let's be honest, though.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, you know how many musicals there's been since Grease? There's been plenty. And I mean, obviously, it was a good movie. I'm not bashing Grease at all. I love Grease, but again, let me just emphasize that Star Wars was just out of the box.
It was very out of the box. It really was. Also, let me say this now. Jaws, I swear Jaws is the only shark movie that really holds up today. Every time I see even a modern shark movie like The Shallows or 47 Meters Down, that's not how a shark moves. And I'm not saying Jaws was perfect. Sharks don't roar.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Sharks now, they need to get that right. Because it looks so CGI'd. It looks like they don't zip around like that. Like, that's not, I don't know, that's not legit.
They're slow moving, and
As somebody from Florida, that's not legit. Like, I promise you, that's not how sharks. Like, if you see a shark swimming at you, they're not like. That's not what you see. You know what I mean?
Brad
But
has been
I don't know.
face to face with sharks a
I've
number
not
of
been
times,
face to
so
face
he
with
knows.
sharks, but I've seen sharks enough to know that that's not how sharks move. Also, sharks are not like predatory demons either that like are like, oh, human. They don't give a shit about humans. They
I
don't
don't think
want they don't want us.
I don't think people realize like how bad
Yeah.
the cinema has stigmatized sharks.
Well, and I hate
Like,
to say it, but Jaws is the reason that cinema has stigmatized sharks. And I love me some Jaws. I own every one of them, even the crappy ones. I love Jaws is in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. But it completely killed sharks. It really did, because sharks are not bad animals. You know what I mean? They're not out to get anybody. They're just, half the time when a shark attacks you, it's a mistake. They think you're something else, or they're like, hey, what is this? But
yeah, you keep defending sharks, okay?
I will, dude. I will keep defending sharks, man. I will. I love sharks.
Me too.
All right, first film I had on my list was The Godfather.
Fair, obvious.
1972, based on Mario Puzo's novel of the same title.
I didn't know it was off a novel. Holy shit!
Yeah, it was off a novel. I actually tried to read it in high school.
Couldn't make it.
I couldn't do it. It's like that thick, and it's so long and drawn out. Like, you think the movie is long and drawn out. The book is so long. I was like, I can't do it. I can't. I'm not as much of a reader. My wife is a reader. She could probably do it. I can't. I can't do it. But yeah, that movie is, dare I say, it's in the top 10 greatest movies of all time.
Agree.
I would put it in the top 10. I have my Godfather poster up here. And you know, that movie, it has its main plot about Vito, and you know, the main storyline about him, you know, declining the narcotics business and his assassination attempt and just everything that goes on in the main storyline. But there are so many subplots that deal with like we had talked about at the beginning of the episode, darker stuff, like stuff that, you know, the Godfather is one of those films that it kind of, again, it pushes boundaries of what you can talk about. It talks about domestic abuse. It talks about racism and equality issues, because a lot of people don't realize Italians were persecuted too. Italian Americans, when they first came here in, you know, early 1900s, they were persecuted. That was, you know, just like really anybody who came to America, because America, let's be real.
I mean, okay, yeah, we all face hardship. Every single race did.
You know, yeah, absolutely. But you know, even the cast in that movie, Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, James Caan, Robert Duvall, Talia Shire. I mean, there's the cast in that movie is so stacked. It's just amazing. Have you seen The Godfather all the way through?
I've seen one.
You've seen
Godfather
the first one?
Yeah, I've seen the first one. All the
yeah, and it's kind of funny. Luca Brasi, right? I mean, it's just I remember, and I'm sure every person has a film or even music or art or something that, you know, kind of hits them differently and resonates with them because of their heritage or their, you know, their race, or I mean, just I'm sure things resonate differently. And for me, coming from Italian American descent, I mean, I literally remember walking in my grandparents' house and The Godfather being on TV all the time. All the time. I mean, my grandfather could quote that movie. And it's long. I mean, it's
line from line.
It is a long, he could quote that movie. Even the Italian parts. Like, it was crazy. Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy. But I think everybody can relate to culturally appropriate things like that. And then even The Godfather Part 2, this would be a fun episode, sequels that are better than the original. I honest to God think that The Godfather Part 2 is better than the original. I really do. I think
I
it's a
mean,
better film. Well, that's another one. That'd be a great commentary to do.
mm-hmm. That would be a long one. Let's
It
be
would be
honest.
it would be long.
It would literally be like 5 minutes of just watching, and then we would say something.
Yeah, I mean
Like, okay, because you literally have to dissect almost every single
yeah.
scene that happens in that movie.
Yeah. Well,
And
and that's what I had said originally. Is like there's so much packed into that one movie. Like there's so many layers to pull back in that. But that's what makes it so epic and so amazing too. You know what I mean?
yeah, I get it. And I mean, I can't think of a movie in the 70s that was culturally appropriate for my
Well,
mind.
and I don't even just mean in the 70's. I mean like overall. I
Oh,
mean,
okay, I gotcha.
I meant that overall, but you know, the Godfather, it's always meant something to me because of what it means for my heritage. And I mean, we were never in the mob. I'm not saying we were in the mob. I'm not. I don't want to mess with that. But
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's such a fantastic movie. Both of them. The third one is decent. Honestly, I don't know that I've seen the third one all the way through. It's not as great.
Mm-hmm.
But and I know there was actually talk of remaking it, and it's one of those things. I know we live in remake land, and they have to remake everything, but I don't know. That's one that I feel like they should just leave that alone.
Fair.
I believe they talked about that with Al Pacino playing Vito, and then Johnny Depp playing Michael. I don't know, Michael or Sonny or one of the two. I don't remember,
That's
but
tough. I mean, we do have
that
a
would be a
standout
tough one.
crowd. Yeah, we still have a solid crowd that can do it. I mean,
Yeah.
solid cast people
Mhm.
that can be in that movie, and it'll still hit.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know if they'll have the same I don't know, resonance with
Definitely. Yeah.
everyone else. You know what I
It
mean?
wouldn't. Yeah. And I mean, that was definitely a product of its time. And the other thing with the cast is a lot of the cast, I'm not saying they all were, and honestly, I'm not 100% positive, but I think a lot of them were of Italian descent,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm sorry, but it makes a difference. You know what I mean? It really does. It's cool. So that was one that we had to bring that up. I mean, we had to, you know?
Yeah.
So what was one on your list?
I don't know if you've seen these movies because it's a series of movies. It's Clint Eastwood's Dirty Harry that came out in
Yeah.
1978.
I
Yeah,
haven't seen it in a long time.
I have the collection.
It's been a while.
I have the collection, so
And
I
you're
have
talking
all
about
the
the
Dirty
first one,
Harrys.
right?
Yeah, the first one because
Or
that
were
one
there
came out.
multiple that came out in the 70's?
I'm pretty sure there were a couple that came out, but then like as it progressed
Mm,
more, like you could see like by the end of I don't know which the last one was. I think it
yeah.
was something I can't remember the name, but you can obviously see that he is aged.
Right.
Eastwood at that time. That was whenever he was like, deteriorating. He's still alive.
Oh,
Looks
Clint
last
Eastwood
on his
looks great.
yeah, he looks great, but he looked aged at that one.
Yeah.
But talking about Clint Eastwood and Dirty Harry, I mean that movie right there really set a lot of people off to a certain degree because it like I mean obviously it talked about a homicide detective that is trying to catch a killer that's out on the loose. Do you know that Dirty Harry is based on a real person, right?
I did not know that.
It's based on
Really?
yeah, his name is Dave Toshi. That's the
I did
Zodiac
not know
killer.
that.
The Zodiac killer
Oh,
investigator. Yeah. Yep.
really?
Because
Holy crap. I need to look into that.
yeah, because if you watch the movie, like the person Dirty Harry's looking trying to catch, like he wrote notes, he made random killings, and he wrote notes to like the newsletter saying he wants all this publicity, trying to do all this publicity
Wow.
saying if you don't do this, I'll kill more, blah 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 blah. And yeah, it was pretty much the same premise as like what happened in the Zodiac killings. If you guys haven't,
Wow.
up checked up with the Zodiac murders, I mean, it's an interesting story. It's sad,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, but I mean, the fact that
Yeah.
they still haven't caught him, that's what makes it way scarier. There's obviously theories left and right. There's like 4 or 5 like chosen suspects.
Yeah. There's been a lot of like pop culture material written or, you know,
Yeah,
performed
exactly.
about that.
hmm
So yeah,
But
that's interesting one.
at the core of the movie and like everything that happens in that movie, like they definitely like pushed a lot of people's limits, because I mean it brought up racism. It brought up
Mhm.
like legitimate killings. It brought up obviously what you said, some nudity was in that movie. And I mean it was just like it was a rated R movie, like without a
Yeah.
doubt, 100%. And when you watch Dirty Harry and how he acts, you can like tell like what kind of man this person is. Like
Mm.
he's obviously a racist, and that was a tough time during the 70s, because a lot of people were getting a lot of gruff from the police during that
Mm.
time. I mean, it's always been a problem, but during that time I think is when it started becoming more
Right.
rampant, I suppose. If I'm mistaken, correct me.
Yeah.
But um
I mean, that's even a theme in The Godfather, though.
yeah, it's like
You know.
it's common. And like these movies at the time, they were hitting topics that people did not want to talk about at all in the media.
Mhm.
Like the cinemas during that time, they were like, okay, well, if no one's going to talk about it, we'll make a movie and we'll bring the subject up in this.
Mhm.
And that's where it happened. And Dirty Harry was just like one of those movies where it like talked about a lot of problems at that time. And it just goes to show like how far the cinema will go to tell their story and to influence people,
Definitely.
influence us as viewers.
Definitely.
And Clint Eastwood already, like the movie, Clint Eastwood, great actor.
Did he write Dirty Harry?
I don't think so. I think
Okay.
he probably actually the story of Dirty Harry was written by like person name, what was his name? Harry Julian. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him, but he wrote it. And Clint Eastwood was just an actor at the time. I mean, he was in a lot of movies, like from Cowboys to Police Officer to a couple
Mm.
other cinemas. Like he was a prime. He's like the Robert Downey Jr. of our time now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he was
Yeah.
in every single movie. If you want a movie to like hit the box office, like that's the man you want.
Yeah.
So when that movie came out, like it really propelled him to the moon. Like
Right.
the way he acted in that movie and the way the story progressed and everything, it was just a really solid movie. And it's still loved by so many other people. Like I'm pretty sure. I mean, can you recite one quote from Dirty Harry? I'm pretty sure you can.
I
You gotta know the one quote I'm looking at.
I can't off the top of my head. What is it?
Okay, go ahead and make my day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I need
yeah.
to go back and rewatch that. It's been too long since I've.
There's
It's
so
been
many
too
like
long.
cheesy one-liners
Yeah.
in that movie, and it's hilarious. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's one of the movies I that was in the top of my head whenever I was thinking the 70s,
What
because
year did that come out? Do you know?
1971.
71. Okay.
Hmm.
So that was at the very beginning. So
Hmm.
the Dirty Harry, The Godfather, The Exorcist, they were all at the beginning. I'll tell you what, 74 and 75 were two really big years for comedy. You had Blazing Saddles,
Uh-huh.
you had Young Frankenstein, both came out in 74. Mel Brooks, um, Gene Wilder starred. You've seen Young Frankenstein, right?
No, I haven't.
Oh my god, so funny, such funny movies. And then 75, you had Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which came out in
Again,
75.
huge cult classic.
It's a
I
cult
could
classic. Look,
This man doesn't like it.
okay.
I'm gonna kick him in the balls next time I see him. I'll drive up the dry ridge and kick you straight in the gonads if you don't like that
I don't
movie.
live in Dry Ridge. I always tell you that I don't live there.
I don't care. I'll drive up there.
Um, what was I gonna say?
I mean,
Oh,
like
our
that movie right there was like all slap chop comedy. Like that's what
it
people
it
wanted.
was one of my professors in college. It's his favorite movie of all time, and we stayed and we watched it one night, and I don't know, man. It doesn't do it for me. I don't. At the end of Monty Python, when the cops show up, it's set in this medieval time, and when the cops showed up, I'm not kidding, in front of everybody, they were all like laughing and carrying on, and I was like, I said, what the hell was that? And they all started laughing and they explained it to me, and I was like, oh.
Did you not know like
No, I knew nothing about it before
there's
I
a
watched
scene
it.
there is a scene before that happens, like halfway in the middle of the movie, there's like a man dies, and literally as the story progresses of King Arthur finding the Holy Grail, two cops show up to this dead body, and they're trying to figure out what happened. Did you not see that?
No,
You probably missed it.
I mean, they
At
told
that
me
moment,
what happened after, but I
okay.
was just like, this movie set in medieval times, and then two like cop cars show up, and I was like, what the hell is this? This doesn't make any sense. But I mean, I know it's a cult classic, and I know people love Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
hmm
Blazing Saddles is hilarious. Mel Brooks had some real winners in the 70s.
Yeah, he did.
Young Frankenstein, you would love Young Frankenstein. Gene Wilder plays Victor Frankenstein's son,
hmm
and they're he's bringing Frank. I mean, it's a Frankenstein spoof. It is hilarious.
Okay,
I
gotcha.
actually watched that for the first time a couple years ago. That's another one. Julia loves that movie. 1975, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Amazing movie.
Yeah,
Have you ever
that's not a
seen
comedy
that?
though.
And no, it's not a comedy. But
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Okay. I thought you were
No,
still going through. I was
no,
like,
no, no. I'm just
this
moving
man
on.
thinks that movie is a comedy.
No. It's not a comedy at all. But it's a
Hold up.
fantastic movie.
I'm more mad that you didn't out of all those comedies, I'm so mad you didn't mention Up in Smokes
I've never seen Up in Smokes.
with Cheech and Chong.
I've never seen that.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, guys, I'm not
You
gonna
love
be
Cheech and Chong.
Yeah,
I remember
fucking
that
love it.
even when we were in high school, you had a Cheech and Chong T-shirt, didn't you?
I did. Guys, look, obviously you can tell who was a pot smoker in high school and who was
You
not.
can tell.
Yeah.
I was not a pot smoker.
So, but
I was not.
even before I was doing all that shit, Up in Smokes was a funny ass movie.
I've never seen it.
All of them.
That's
great
what you
movies.
need to show me. I've never seen it.
I know Cheech Marin. I remember he was one of the Latinos in that during that time that really like spun off in the whole movie business. He's such a great actor. He's hilarious as hell. And then Tommy Chong. I mean, I don't see Tommy Chong in much movies. He's in That 70s Shows a lot. You know what I'm talking about. He's in That 70s Show.
Mm-hmm.
And just the both of them, their chemistry together. Oh my god, it kicked off everything. And I think they had like a couple more movies after that.
They have quite a few movies together, right?
Yeah, and all of it was hilarious. Because when you think about comedy back in the 70s, like they went through some shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you go from the 50s and the 60s, and like from the 40s to the 60s, like the United States went through hell. Like they went through a war, they went through the Great Depression.
It was
There's just a lot going on. So I think comedy during that time was such a needed aspect for those people during that time.
Mm-hmm.
And people weren't, granted, there were some like really like, again, like they brought up like serious matters in these movies, but also people just wanted to laugh during that time because they've already know what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. That's why those movies back then are like, again, just like slap chop comedy. It's like just people falling over, people being dumb as hell, and just like showing the idiocy of these characters. Like no one was going. No, some people just went to the movie just because they wanted to get away from the realities of what's going on.
Right.
And I think that's why comedy during that time was such a gold mine, because there's so many good movies, as you said, with Blazing Saddles and obviously Cheech and Chong's Up in Smokes.
Yeah, definitely, man, definitely. And we get into the later 70s. 1976, Rocky came out. I love Rocky. That was another movie constantly on my TV. My dad is a huge Rocky fan. I read this, and I didn't know this until I was, prepping for the episode and looking at different 70s movies. Sylvester Stallone wrote the script for Rocky in 3.5 days.
Yeah, can you believe that?
He wrote it in 3.5 days after watching Muhammad Ali and Chuck Wepner, I believe is his name. It's Chuck Wepner. Okay. He wrote the script in 3.5 days after watching them fight. Rocky is a fantastic movie. It won the Academy Award in 1976 for Best Picture. Mm-hmm. It won, and it well deserved. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was that was like the start of like a great underdog story. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah.
Like an underdog story now is like, it's common. Like if you want a good movie, just make an underdog story.
Yep.
And that's and Rocky was one of the first to do it pretty much. And even though like, and it was, I'm not gonna lie, I think that was one of the like that movie was so good because it showed an underdog story of someone who still lost.
Yeah, definitely.
That was insane. Like you would think, like, oh my god, he's gonna get through this. He's gonna win.
He's gonna
He's
do
gonna
it. He's
become
gonna
champion.
win.
And then, boom, guess what? He lost.
Yeah. Well, and I think part of the theme of Rocky, and really part of the whole Rocky series, because I love the whole series. I don't know. Have you seen every one of them?
Every single one.
They're so freaking good, man.
Yeah.
But part of that theme, you know, even when he's talking to his kid in Rocky Balboa in part 5, you know, when he says about like, you know, it's not about, you know, how hard you can get hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. My brother actually has that in his bedroom. Jeff's got that, like that poster of Rocky standing there in Philly with his fist up. But that's part of the theme. I love that he loses at the end because it's like, you know, he doesn't even give a shit that he lost. Like, he doesn't care. It's about the fact that he made it there and he kept pushing. And Adrian, you know what I mean? At the end, Adrian, both of his eyes are all like bloody and bruised. Adrian, I'm sure he can't even see. You know what I mean?
No, not at all.
But it just, I love the end of that movie. It's so good, man. It's such a classic film.
And also, like, Rocky honestly, like, took part of like the decades. You know what I mean? Like, it talked
about
decade. Like, it talked about like take it for Rocky 4 when it was talking about, like, you know, when it was Rocky versus Dolph Lundgren, Drago. Like, that was like during the Cold War. Like, that was a touchy subject.
If he dies, he dies. To this day, I hate Dolph Lundgren. I mean, he's a great actor, but I think I don't know that. Like, I only think Ivan Drago, and I'm like, you douchebag. Like, every time I see him in a film, I'm like, I just think Drago.
Yeah, I gotcha. He's a good actor.
Yeah. He's a great actor. Dolph, I don't mean that personally, man. I think you're great. I only see Ivan Drago when I look at you. Another great one from 1976, the King Kong remake with Jeff Bridges and Jessica Lange.
Okay.
I actually just ordered this. I tagged you on Facebook.
You did.
In the trailer. I just ordered the Shout Factory collector's edition. It's got a poster with new art, and it's got the Blu-ray with a whole bunch of different special features on it. It's a good remake, man. That's a fun remake. That'll make a good commentary for one of these days. Once I get that copy and we can sit down and watch it. I'm curious to see what special features are on there. And you know, that was kind of,
I would love to see those behind the scenes of those.
Yeah. I'm kind of really excited to see the special features behind that, because, you know, that I actually have a quote here from Lorenzo Semple on writing that film, because, you know, the original film, you know, and it's funny because you look at the original Kong film from the 30s and it looks so
it's like people,
it looks ridiculous. You know what I mean?
It looks like people playing with toys.
It's stop motion. He moves so like it's weird looking now. But I mean, back then, do you know how taboo and how terrifying that would have been? It would have been amazing. So here's what one of the writers had to say. He said, "We made a very deliberate attempt not to be anything like the original movie in tone or mood. Dino," talking about Dino De Laurentiis, "wanted it to be light and amusing rather than pretentious. I don't think the original was meant to be mythic. The original King Kong is extremely crude," and it is. It's like we just said, it's very taboo. It's very like to the point and blunt in a way that movies typically weren't back then. He said, "I don't mean it's not wonderful. It was remarkable for its time, but it was a very small backlot picture, and we thought times had changed so much that audiences were more sophisticated. Dino felt that we could have more fun with it. We hope to do sensational things with advanced special effects on a big screen." And to be completely honest, that's exactly what that King Kong remake is. It's fun. Kong isn't necessarily scary in that film. Even in Peter Jackson's film, I mean, you come to love him towards the end, but at the beginning he's still like, it kind of shows him in darkness, it shows him in shadow. And the original film, Kong was sort of the villain almost.
He was definitely the villain.
Yeah, in this remake, I mean, and it's kind of funny now because like I like when her and Jack are in the bar when they're in New York and Kong has escaped and the military's coming in and they're in New York and he looks at the window and Kong is like, he does that weird like smile thing, like he's almost attracted to her.
Yeah.
All the time you just get this like, and he's
Very,
breathing
very
really hard,
creepy.
and it's like, it's kind of strange.
Yeah.
But I had never read that quote before. I didn't know that they were going for kind of more of a lighter, kind of more amusing, and there are serious parts to the movie. That's not to say that it's a comedy or that it's a spoof, but it is more of a lighthearted take on Kong. It's a good remake. I enjoy that remake. I think it's pretty fun.
I agree, and we definitely need to do a commentary on that.
We
'cause
do.
I'd love to talk more about it.
I'm like I said, I'm really excited to see the behind the scenes on that because I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of curious how they did a lot of that. It was also a change to have him climb the World Trade Center, rip.
Yeah.
But
Jesus,
that was
Christ.
a good scene though. When he
Yeah.
jumps from the North Tower to the South Tower, whichever one that is. I mean, that was a cool scene. It was cool. It was kind of a cool twist having him on the World Trade Center instead.
Yeah.
And then I know we have to Star Wars, the great space western of the 1970s.
Mm-hmm.
You could probably enlighten with Star Wars a little bit more than I can because and we've touched on it briefly, but I think Star Wars was a groundbreaking film for a whole lot of different reasons.
I think it's because, hold on, my computer's about to die. Hold on, there we go. We're good to go. Sorry, I heard that beep.
That laptop's
and I was
about
like,
to die.
Yeah, exactly. I was low key scared. Like, this is not gonna end well, guys. But I mean, okay, yeah. If you want to talk about Star Wars, we can, because when it came out, I mean, we already touched base on it. But yeah, it's pretty much a really great space western, and westerns were such a big thing.
They were, yes,
back in the 60s, like even from the 50s, like back in black and white, like westerns were such a hit.
Absolutely.
So taking that theme of a western movie and put it into outer space is mind-boggling for a lot of people. Because no one really thought of like having of a movie in outer space would make sense, because nobody knows anything about space during that time. So whenever that movie came out, like, it was so interesting to see different types of aspects of outer space, and it just created this whole new world where cinema can go to. You know what I mean?
Well,
and open up this whole new avenue.
Right. And that's I think that's part of the reason that we have The Mandalorian today and that we have Rogue One and we have all of these spinoffs, because George Lucas was genius in that he built his own world. We don't know what's, especially 30, 40 years ago. I mean, obviously we know more now than we did then. But I mean, we don't know what space would be like if you had all this crazy technology and these different creatures. I mean, it's just he creates, similar to what like J.K. Rowling did with Harry Potter.
J.K. Rowling took the idea of Star Wars and made Harry Potter. That's a hot topic, but whatever.
I've never heard that before. You're the first person I've ever heard that from.
It is. I'm not. It's about a boy, the chosen one, who's being led by a mentor, and their battles are based on fucking wands. Just compare with Star Wars. You got it. You got it. That's pretty much what happened. But never mind. I
That's
love
a topic for another episode.
Yeah, I love Harry Potter. A lot of my friends will probably kill me if they hear me say that.
But yeah, something else that I read about Star Wars that I didn't ever really think about, but it kind of makes sense. Did you know that George Lucas was heavily inspired by the gospel and like the story of Christianity? If you think about it, look at Anakin. And of course, this didn't happen until the later sequels. Obviously, we didn't flesh this out, but he was heavily inspired by Christianity, and that Vader he's a messianic character. He's conceived of a virgin birth, but unlike Jesus, he stayed with the dark side. He reverted back to the dark side. He didn't switch and go the correct way. Vader stayed. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I'd never thought about it that way, but it makes sense, you know. And
Wow.
I'm sure there are other little Easter egg type nods in there, but I thought that was kind of interesting, you know.
Yeah, I agree. You're probably, but that you're talking about like Star Wars as a whole.
As a whole,
I mean,
yes,
yeah, as a whole.
And I
But,
don't
like,
know. I don't know, similar to like John Carpenter with Halloween, I don't know how far down the line he had planned. I don't know if he knew that there was ever going to be a part 2 or a part 3, or let alone a part, what is that, 9 that we just ended with? I mean, of the main sequels. I mean,
for Star Wars,
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Episode
But
9.
yeah, I mean that, you know. So I don't know how far down the line he thought about that.
But yeah, I have no idea. And but it looks like they're on a good track so far.
Yeah.
But going back to like whenever Star Wars initially came out, like the introduction to Darth Vader, which by far still to this date is one of the most influential villains of
he is
of all time.
Absolutely.
Like seeing him like enter in the craft that Princess Leia, and just his presence there, it showed like true like evil coming from that man. And people just fell in love with him because the way he dressed. And James Earl Jones voicing Darth Vader, beautiful. It's just I don't think he did that, but okay.
I'm done.
You're gonna need to clean your microphone up.
I'm done now. Take away my mic. I mean, dare I say he's the most famous villain of all time?
Yeah.
I think Thanos is up there now.
Of cinema. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think Darth Vader is probably the most famous villain of all time.
Yeah. Like not even Palpatine. And even though he is like, you know, supposed to be the true main villain, Darth Vader was the most evil villain. Yeah. Or the most popular villain of all time, without a doubt.
Absolutely. 1977, Saturday Night Fever came out. That's another great John Travolta movie.
John Travolta had a time of his life during that time.
John Travolta had a lot. I forgot to even mention this. Did you know, and I couldn't name them all off the top of my head, but I found this on Wikipedia as I was in my deep, dark 1970s hole a couple days ago.
Okay.
Jack Nicholson was in 15 films in the 70s. In that decade, he was in 15 different films.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I gotta check that out right now.
That's pretty wild. That's a lot. Obviously, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. What else was he in?
5 Easy Pieces.
5 Easy Pieces.
He was also in the Rebel Rousers.
Okay.
Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen that one.
I check it out. It's pretty good. And he was in a couple of Westerns too, if I'm not mistaken, because that was like the thing.
Yeah, it was.
But I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Most of the movies he was in the 70s, I mean, they're not too popularly known.
Right. I mean, yeah. I think he was kind of young still. I mean, he wasn't very old. But I love Jack Nicholson. I think he's great. Yeah, I think he's one of the greatest actors of all time.
Great actor. Yeah. Is one that Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? Is that the one where he's like, "Here's Johnny"?
No.
Oh no, that's The Shining. My bad. Right?
Are you kidding me?
I'm sorry.
Did you really just say that?
Yeah, we did.
I'm a little tipsy, and
Guys, I'm so sorry.
I'm shocked that you just said that.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's The Shining. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is when he's in the mental hospital. Are you kidding me?
I'm blanking. I'm not gonna
lie. We
lie.
host a movie show, dude.
I'm blanking, man. This whole vaccine is killing me right now.
I guess that's solidified. We're doing a One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest commentary at some point, so be on the lookout for that, people.
Okay, I gotcha. That's fine.
But the last one I had on my list was Superman from 1978, which, again, Christopher Reeves. It's a great movie. Good movie. Honestly, all three of his films. I think there's three, right?
Yes.
Superman
1. Superman Returns. No, that's the new one.
What are they called? I don't know. I don't know what they're called.
Look at you blanking out too, my guy.
I am blanking on those. It's been a long time since I've seen those two, but they're great. I briefly wanted to touch on because it's me, 70s horror.
Mm-hmm.
We already talked about The Exorcist. 1974 was a big year. We had the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which groundbreaking again. And it's kind of funny because as I look at my list, and I'm just not realizing this, but you know, the 80s, which we're touching on in our next episode, it was a little bit more lighthearted horror. Um, the 70s, every one of these titles I have written down for the horror genre are dark. Like they're dark, they're gritty, they push the boundaries of what horror was. I mean, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's not a bloody film by any means, but
It's just a dirty
the
film.
atmosphere, and like you said, it's dirty. It kind of makes you feel like, wow, I want to take a shower and
I was gonna
like
say, yep.
read my Bible after this. You know what I mean? Like it just makes you feel like, oh, like the atmosphere, the set, and the scenes and the way shots are set up. It makes you feel gross. And that was the goal. I mean, that film. I mean, even look at, you know, they got in trouble because the set was so awful. I mean, there were actually like dead, rotting animals like on set and things like that. I mean, it was terrible. It was a terrible movie making experience, but it's one of the greatest horror films of all time.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was that bad.
Yeah,
Jesus.
the set. There's a whole lot of stuff about the behind the scenes of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre that it was rough. It was really rough, and they filmed it in Texas. So I mean, it was
hot.
I think it was like 109 degrees a lot of days. I mean, like they had to like it was rough. It was really rough. Toby Hooper did a fantastic job with that movie. Black Christmas from 1974, that was another one. Bob Clark, who it's kind of funny because Bob Clark, he wrote Black Christmas, which for those of you who don't know, Dave McRae and Bruce Dale are doing an unofficial sequel to. Check out our trailer reaction. It's going to be fantastic. That movie's going to be awesome.
We'll add the link in this one.
We will. I'll post the link in the comments. Bob Clark wrote Black Christmas in 1974. Fantastic slow burn slasher film. And then he went on to write A Christmas Story in 1983. And it's kind of funny because it's like two Christmas films, but one is a dark slasher film and the other one is it's a Christmas story.
Joyful. Yeah.
You know, it's just kind of funny. Jaws in 1975, we talked about, that was game changing. I mean, people didn't want to go in the water after that movie. I mean, that was unbelievable. One of the most successful films of all time. Carrie, The Hills Have Eyes, George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, which was incredible. I mean, George Romero, I'm a big zombie fan, as we've talked about before. George Romero's zombie films were incredible, and Dawn of the Dead was, I don't know if I'd say it's his best of the original trilogy. I think Night of the Living Dead is probably my favorite out of his original Night, Day, Dawn, or Night, Dawn, Day. But it was great. And then, of course, 1970s gave us the greatness. John Carpenter's Halloween.
Which I still haven't seen.
I know. God, we're going to change that. After this series, I'm going to change that because I think some Halloween Kills stuff is going to... I'd say we'll probably get a Halloween Kills poster. Maybe another teaser before we get the actual trailer.
I would say like sometime in the summers when they'll start kicking that stuff off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we got the poster in May, and I think we got the trailer in June for Halloween 2018. So I think they're going to be kicking that off pretty soon. So I am going to get you caught up. So we're going to devote an episode to talking about Halloween 1978 and Halloween 2018 and our predictions for Halloween Kills and Ends, because I'm one of those people. I know there's a script out there. I know that there are a million plot leaks. I don't care. I'm not going to read the script. That is something I have chosen. I'm not going to read the script. I know subliminal things. I know about the flashback. I know about Loomis. I know all of that stuff, but I don't surface level. So I'm okay with surface level spoilers, but I don't want to know like this person dies in this way by this. I don't want to know that. Like, save that, you know?
Yeah, I hear you.
So, but we will devote a whole episode to that because I am going to get Miguel caught up.
Okay.
But Halloween came out, and I wanted to touch on Halloween because it changed the horror genre forever. It really
Mm-hmm.
did. It became the highest grossing independent film of all time at one point. Um, $300,000 budget, maybe $325,000. It wasn't a lot. Um, so many callbacks to OG horror, to Psycho, everything from casting Janet Leigh's daughter, which of course Jamie Lee Curtis is Janet Leigh's daughter from Psycho. Um, Janet Leigh played Marion Crane in Psycho. Um, Sam Loomis, who was the psychiatrist in Psycho,
Yeah.
at the very end. Um, I'm trying to think. Lieutenant Thomas Doyle, I think was his name. That was where they
Is
got
that the
Tommy Doyle's
okay?
name, the kid. Yeah,
Yeah.
from Rear Window, Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window. He was the cop, and John Carpenter took him to write the script for Halloween, and he played the kid. I mean, it just little things like that. Halloween is such an incredible film. It was such a different horror film because it's about what you don't see. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't very gratuitous. It wasn't very bloody. You don't see a whole bunch of kills. It's more about Michael lurking in the shadows and what you don't see. It's simple plot. And then the other thing that I think makes Halloween so incredible is you had the Van Helsing storyline of Dr. Loomis, because Dr. Loomis is like Michael's Van Helsing. He is
Holy shit!
the
Wow.
force that is trying to stop Michael.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that's amazing. So I am, as you can see behind me, if you're watching on YouTube, I am a Halloween fanatic.
Yeah.
Even here, I have all Halloween shit above me. I mean, I'm, we're gonna be talking about Halloween kills
For sure.
to
And
say the least.
just
We
like
will be. Even behind me, I got all my Halloween. I got my Halloween 2 VHS.
yeah, this man has like 5 masks sitting right there,
Oh, I do.
and it's a little freaky.
I have the H1 mask. I have H2, H4, H6, H18. I need to get 5 H2O, Resurrection, and Rob Zombies, and I'll have them all. But it is a goal to have them all. It's a goal.
That's like 5 more, man. You're not that far.
I know.
Jesus.
I know. It's a goal. I'm being dead serious. I want every single one of them. But
okay. All right.
That's for another day.
I'll find some for you.
That's for another day.
Pretty soon. But I wanted to talk about this real quick because seeing like how like gung ho you are for like the horror movies, like I was always like a big fan of the martial arts genre of movies. Like during the 70s.
I see what you're doing.
Yeah, like so. I mean, I have a background of martial arts, and the martial arts genre was always one of my favorite. And the 70s is when it absolutely blew up. Like,
I'm glad you're bringing this up because I didn't have any of these on here.
Really?
On my list. No.
Oh my goodness, I could literally name like 5 off the top of my head: Enter the Dragon, Drunken Master, New Fist of Fury, and Fist of Fury from Bruce Lee, and what else? Shaolin Wooden Man. Like all these other you guys have not seen these movies probably. You guys, if you guys think of like martial arts movies, you probably think of like Jet Li, Jackie Chan, and Bruce Lee. But let me tell you, the two that I mentioned, Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan, they are the ones that propelled the genre to new heights.
Yeah.
Bruce Lee was like obviously trained from Ip Man, and he created this new martial arts, Jeet Kune Do. And he incorporated the idea of just martial arts in general, like a combination of all different types of training. And he came to Hollywood and he just blew up the entire scene. He blew up Hollywood with all these movies. Take Enter the Dragon. I think it's one of his, I think it's like second to last movie before his untimely pass. Again, an absolute classic. And Game of Death, which was the last movie that he made, that one had to be like made, splice him in a couple of movies because he died during the making of that. And it's just those movies in general, like they were such like great martial arts movies, even though like now if you watch it, you could tell that there's no contact whatsoever to some of them. But it's just the feel of those movies and also the soundtrack of them. Like it was very 70s, like you could tell. And like it started the how what's his name? Quentin Tarantino does that like zoom in thing of people's eyes.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that came from
that Quentin Tarantino
Chinese
thing.
Yeah. Because he has a couple of he does a couple of things. He takes these things from really old movies, and one of them was martial arts movies. Just
Mhm.
like the type of atmosphere and the zoom in of the face, like those things are like tactics that these martial arts movies have made, and like
Mhm.
when you watch them, they're just such great movies. And so I talked about Bruce Lee, and then whenever he died, um, Jackie Chan was the one that came out, and
Mm.
Jackie Chan again, like Jackie Chan is probably one of my favorite actors. Like acting wise, he's okay, but in the movie. I'm being real. I'm being real. Okay, let's just say it. You guys probably only know Jackie Chan from Rush Hour 1, 2, and 3. And those are good movies. But again, acting is not there for him. But he's still a great actor in what he does. So whenever Bruce Lee died and Jackie Chan became like the face of like the martial arts, like Jackie Chan knew like he had a lot to live up to. Granted,
Yeah.
he did do his thing at the time. Like he worked with Bruce Lee at one time.
Uh-huh.
I don't
Did he
think,
really?
yeah.
I didn't
And
know that. I didn't
Enter the
know that.
Dragon. Enter the Dragon. There's a scene when he's in the cave and he's trying to escape. Bruce Lee trying to escape, and he's using all these different weapons to attack people. And
Uh-huh.
there is one character that he hurt tremendously with a solid whack of a baton straight to the dome.
Mm.
That was Jackie Chan, young Jackie Chan,
Wow.
just being an extra. And
I would have to rewatch that.
you have to catch
That's
it
pretty
because
funny.
funny story. So Jackie Chan was talking about it. He's saying like he's up next to get whopped by Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee just like straight like really good, real gung ho acting. He goes "Whoopah!" right at Jackie Chan's dome and just like ends up knocking him down. And everyone in the fucking studio knew that Jackie Chan was hurt, like he was knocked. And but Bruce Lee was just staying in character just like the whole time, the entire time, just walking away. And as soon as the guy said cut, it shows how big of a heart Bruce Lee had. He literally, as soon as the director said cut, he literally dropped the baton, ran to Jackie Chan, picked him up, and was like, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I hurt you." And
That's
obviously,
awesome.
yeah, Jackie Chan was
I
like
did not
so
know any of
awestruck.
this.
Yeah, and Jackie Chan being Jackie Chan, because this man is taking fucking falls left
Yeah.
and right. He's
Oh
taking
yeah,
damage.
definitely.
So
I
that didn't
believe
really
Jackie
bother him.
Chan always did his own stunts, didn't he?
Yes,
I'm sure a lot of these guys in these martial arts films always did their own stunts.
they did. And if you watch some of Jackie Chan's movies, at the end of the movies, they have blooper reels, and it's not
Uh-huh.
just like acting of blooper reels, it's him doing stunts and him
Yeah.
fucking up. And this man has probably broken almost every single bone in his body, so to
Mm.
speak, just doing these stunts. Like he is a master stuntman. Like that's how he got
Oh,
his start,
for
I'm pretty
sure.
sure.
For sure.
So during the 70s, Jackie Chan was whenever Bruce Lee on time passing, Jackie Chan was next in line to be like the what's it called? The spotlight was it was his time to shine. And both Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee, like they set the tone for these movies. And obviously there's plenty of other martial arts movies that we'll talk about later on in the decades. But during the 70s, it was like the core time whenever they started making them, and they
Mhm.
were making them brilliantly. Like again, the
Yeah.
score, the cinematography, the action sequence, because action sequence wasn't really a thing. If you
Yeah.
think about it, like take Dirty Harry, like the fight scenes were pretty,
Mhm.
bland. And you take Star Wars, like again, lightsaber battles, but they were still bland. Like there was no
Right.
like
Right.
decent like choreography. These martial arts movies pioneered all of that.
Mhm.
Like it put everyone like
For sure.
if you guys if you like John Wick, if you like how he acts, if you like how he like fights all these assassins, guess what? Thank Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee,
Mhm.
because they're the first people to make those types of movies where
They
they're,
pioneered that. You're right.
yeah. So again, like these movies again were just like pioneers of so many things that we love to see in the movies
For
now.
sure.
And I give so much props to those movies, even though it's not well known to the general audience. Like if you love the movies and you want to like delve into a different genre, the martial arts kung fu movies, they're great.
Yeah. Yeah.
100% would recommend it.
Uh-huh. My dad was always really into all of those. I know different era, but Bloodsport,
Hmm.
all the Jean-Claude Van Damme, Bruce Lee, Jackie
Yes.
Chan, all of that. I mean,
Yes.
just all of that stuff. It's great.
Hmm.
I'm gonna put you on the spot real quick. Bum bum bum. No, I'm kidding. If you had to pick a top five from the 1970s,
top 5 from the 1970s.
Top 5 of what we just talked about. If you
Holy
had to pick
shit.
a top 5, I know it's tough. I told you I'm putting you on the spot.
I mean,
I gave you no warning.
you didn't. I didn't even prep for that. That was like one of our ideas of like, are we gonna choose our top 5s? I mean, I don't. Did you?
I wrote a top. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I just jot. It's not said. It doesn't have to be anything crazy.
I know. I've already talked about a couple of them. It's obviously Enter the Dragon for me.
Star Wars would be in there, right?
Star Wars is in there, and Dirty Harry, and The Gods Must Be Crazy, which we've talked about in our top movies of all time. That's still in there. And then what else? I gotta pick one. Oh, it's gonna be Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. That was in the 70s.
Really? Was it really?
Yep.
That was another one. I didn't think to talk about any Godzilla stuff, but I didn't even think about it. We talked about a whole lot just now.
We talked a whole lot. I could give you a whole spiel on the whole show-up period of Godzilla. That was just, I mean, it was just a good. Again, there were just so many people. What they did too, pioneered a lot of things for monster movies as well.
For sure. My top 5 would have to be Halloween, The Godfather Part 2 from 1974, Jaws, the 76 remake of King Kong, and Rocky. I gotta throw Rocky in there.
Yeah.
So that would be my top 5. But guys, thank you so much for listening to this. This has been part 1 of our new series called Decades. So next week in episode 18, we are checking out the 1980s in film, and that's going to be a really fun one. The 1980s, man. We went from a new era to just throw all the coke on the table. Let's go. Like, we just went wild in the 1980s. But please, if you would, let us know, what are your top 5, top 10? What are your favorite films from the 1970s? If you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment. Let us know. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple or Google, please tweet at us at We Talk the Movies. Let us know what your favorite 1970s films are. Announcement. This week, this Friday actually, we are kicking off our new movie news show. Let's Talk Movie News, and we'll just be talking the movie news of the week. That'll be just kind of a fun, laid-back show, and that'll premiere on Friday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Same places, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you listen to podcasts. And that's going to be a good old time. We're just going to be talking this week's movie news, real loose, real laid back. Next week, again, we are talking the 1980s, so be sure to be on the lookout for that. Leave us a like and a comment, and we will talk to you all soon. Hope everything is good in your world. Peace.